What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Lamont Tyson back with the politics of being black. Today, out of all the crazy things that have happened, somehow or another, Donald Trump found Jesus and decided that he wants the Epstein files released. Interesting. And speaking of Jesus, you guys have oftentimes heard me mention that we have an issue with Christian nationalism, and I call them crazy Christian conservatives because they claim to be about the Bible and their religion, but their behavior and their vote says something different. And so what I decided to do was go find a real Christian, one who's really devout, one who's a mother, one who is a lady, and figure out where the disconnect is and see if we can learn from each other together and maybe make this world a better place. But before I bring this lady up here live, I want you to see her sizzle reel that has millions of views. You've got to go follow this young lady on TikTok. She will definitely keep you entertained and, dare I say, blessed.
It's weird growing up in a church your entire childhood and being told to be nice to others, and then one day you grow up and they're like, you're not actually supposed to be nice to others, stupid socialist.
There she is, ladies and gentlemen. It's CJ, and she is actually nice to people. She was nice to me. How are you doing today, CJ?
I am doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for basically dealing with my schedule, dealing with my random texts on TikTok, just everything it took to get this show to be produced. I want to thank you for just bearing with me and sacrificing your time. I think the message we're going to talk about today can better be served coming from someone who is a Christian, who models and reads the Bible, and actually at times has questions. And I think that that's a great way to show people your humanity and that you're vulnerable and you're still learning as you take the walk. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you said the last part there about being like vulnerable, because for me, faith is not linear, and it's not like that I even struggle on a day-to-day basis. Like, am I a Christian? I wholeheartedly believe in the teachings of Jesus, but Christianity in America has gotten so twisted with politics that it is hard sometimes for me to like untangle that and to be able to fully like say and admit that I am a Christian. I really don't know anymore. I do wholeheartedly believe that the teachings of Jesus are the right ones. I think that it has the power to like heal us, and it holds great power. And I think that churches and politicians twist it for their own political and monetary gain, and it is like eating itself right now. Christianity is under attack by Christian nationalists right now. And so I am happy to share. I have lots of opinions, and I'm a very passionate person. But I also want right off the bat to be super like authentic and genuine and say that I'm not like this like perfect Christian. I struggle. I'm constantly like wrestling with what it means to be a Christian, to like have faith. And so I think we should hold each other accountable. I think we should more perspectives from different angles makes us stronger and better. Diversity of thought gives more solutions, gives better solutions. So like we're stronger together when we have more perspectives. So I shared that because I am trying to figure out, like, am I inside Christian? I thought when I started this that I was like, I'm on the inside of this. I'm going to help fix it from the inside. And now that I'm like in there, like fighting, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I can relate enough to these people. So that's maybe an intro.
That's a good intro. And I would rather someone be authentic and honest, blatantly honest the way you are, because I can believe you. I can follow you. You're telling people Jesus himself admits that nobody was perfect. And we're all human beings. There's not a perfect person. But the key to that is when you see those imperfections, you try to improve them as best you can. And what we oftentimes see with policy and religion is that they pull out the worst instincts of people, and then they use religion to lead them to the area of worst instincts that have nothing to do with the teachings of Jesus Christ. Nothing to do with it.
Right.
And so I commend you for just being honest. And what you just said is how not only you, but other people of faith could gather more people in this time we're living in. And we'll get into all that in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to do the ice breaking part with CJ. By the way, her link is in the video description. Please go show her some love on TikTok. She has, like I said, a banging TikTok channel. So please go show her some love. But before we go there, ladies and gentlemen, we have one of y'all's favorite segments we do on this show, and it is called All right, CJ, it can be anything you want. What have you had it with? It doesn't have to be political, it doesn't have to be religion. It can be any of those things, but just today, what have you had it with?
All right. It took me a long time to think of something because despite the fact that I'm constantly complaining on TikTok about religion and politics, I actually don't get upset about, there's not a lot that bugs me. I'm like pretty chill person, but I was thinking there's one thing that I saw recently and I hate. It's when those giant pickup trucks park in 4 parking spots instead of 1. And it always annoys me. I'm like, if you're going to take up that much space, park in the back and walk. It's like, you bought this $80,000 car. You don't want someone to scratch it. Walk. I hate that. Don't take up 4 spaces. So that's one.
I completely agree with you. And part of why they do that is not just to take up the space, but they want you to see their $80,000 vehicle. They want you to see that they have value in their jacked up redneck trucks. They want you to know that they are people of business. So they're going to take up 4 parking spaces, just completely not be courteous to fellow man, even though they probably claim they're patriots. They might even have a flag on the truck talking about their America this and their America that, but they're being inconsiderate and taking up 6 damn parking spaces, okay? I am 100% with you. And CJ, I don't even like it when people do it with Lamborghinis and stuff like that. No, don't buy the car and take up everybody. Get your butt in 1 parking space and leave. We can enjoy the Lamborghini from 1 part. We don't need you taking up 3 spaces. We don't need that. Okay.
Right?
We don't need that.
Right.
Exactly. So here's my petty, what I've had it with today. And I've been wrestling with 4 or 5 of these because I go to the gym 6 days a week so I can wrestle with some of those. I try not to always let it be politics because we're discussing politics. I think that I am going to go with the I've had it today of the name Bubba. I've had it with the name Bubba. Bubba is in the news because in the Epstein email leak, Bubba was someone who Donald Trump got on his knees and said, I'm going to please you to somebody that was a male. Initially, that Bubba was Bill Clinton. And now the Epstein estate and Jeffrey Epstein's brother has come out and said it was not Bill Clinton. It was another person named Bubba. And so at this point, I've had it with Bubba. I want to know the truth. Who is Bubba? Who did our president blow? And why is the news media not taking this to task? I think that's more of what I've had it with, CJ. This could have been any other president. This could have been George Bush. Seriously. If the country knew George Bush got on his knees and blew a male and risked national security because that Epstein email is alleging that Putin has some kind of a picture, video, or something like that, so that risks national security, they would be shutting down the government. So, CJ, am I wrong for my little petty grievance of the Bubba? I'm tired of the Bubba situation.
No, but I did not know that was a real video. I thought for sure that was AI. I only saw it once or twice, but I just assumed that there's no way that was real. That was real?
CJ, that was real. There are photos.
What world are we living in? Everything. It's like the Twilight Zone with Trump. I can't The Onion can't stay up with the news because real life is crazier than anything they can come up with. So yeah, you're legit on that.
And I think what's so frustrating is how so many people are willing to let him get away with anything because their hatred toward other people supersedes their needs to take care of themselves. And that's the frustrating part. They're willing to let him hold the Bible upside down when you can clearly tell this man probably has never opened anything. He's probably never even opened a Quran, let alone the Bible. He ain't opened none of that. And now you've actually got people at Trump rallies wearing T-shirts that says, even if he is a pedophile, I still vote for him. It's our worst instincts have come to light, and people have just said, you know what, the hell with morals, the hell with decorum. I don't care. I just want this man to satisfy my racial needs, and if you're rich, satisfy my tax bracket needs. Those are the two they care about more than their quote unquote fellow man. And we'll get into it in a minute.
Yeah, I agree with that. They care about power and greed. That's what it is.
Yes. Yes. Two things Jesus Christ did not like. And these people all claim to be Christians. So before we get into the heavy stuff, ladies and gentlemen, please post us your comments on what you've had it with. And now we're going to go to some facts. Are you ready for some facts, CJ? Facts that can lead to a better life, quality of life. Take a look at this. Right. Here we go. This thing says people who spend money on experiences rather than material things tend to be happier. At my old advanced age, I figured that out maybe about 10 years ago. Let me read the study for you. Okay. It says a 20-year study from Cornell University found that people who spend money on experiences like travel, concerts, and adventures report higher and longer lasting happiness than those who buy material possessions. Like me and CJ just talked about that guy with the redneck truck hogging up 3 lanes. Clearly he's not happy, or he would be courteous to his fellow human beings, but I digress. Why? Experiences create memories, connection, identity, while material things tend to fade into the background once they become familiar. Even anticipation of an experience like a planned trip has been shown to boost mood more than waiting for a physical purchase to arrive. In short, happiness isn't what you own, it's in what you live. What do you think, CJ?
I wholeheartedly agree with that. That doesn't surprise me at all. I've been thinking a lot about, I don't know, social media and like living in real life versus living online. And it's similar. Like, it's like this like false sense of like community when you don't actually have any of that. And that's the same thing, like purchasing items. It's that false sense of like, you get that dopamine rush, but it's not connection. Humans need like real life connection, real life experience. Put the phones away, be in real life. That's what's going to like, you know, make your brain smarter.
I mean, you said that very well. We human beings are social creatures, and it almost sometimes feels like it's a trick of the tech bros to separate us through technology now, to almost have it where we're giving up our rights, we're giving up our leisure, we're giving up our experiences to the internet so that they can run everything. At times, it feels like that is how they've set this thing up. And my 2 cents on this is I learned this a very long time ago. There was a term that they were using back when I was in my 20s called the FIRE movement. Basically, it's like you retire early in your 30s type thing. Yeah. I was one of those people doing that. And what I learned was it quickly made me, instead of buying things, it made me buy assets that could appreciate so that I could have something to keep doing these experiences. And for me, experiences are doing 5Ks, massages, going on trips, going on food tours, experiencing the world. All that means so much more to me than name brand clothes. I don't own any Air Jordans. I have a modest vehicle, even though it's electric. And for me, it has always been about experiences, because if I was to go quadriplegic tomorrow, I can still go to my brain and say, you know what, I did X, Y, and Z and I enjoyed it. I can't go in there and say, I'm going to go drive my Lamborghini. I'm not just going to have the ability to do it. And I think that when you share those experiences with someone you care about, and it doesn't have to be like a significant other, it can be a friend, an auntie, a mother, sister, whatever, it enriches that experience, in my opinion.
I totally agree. And I think that's something that the working class actually gets more of, because we don't have the luxury of buying things. So when you're forced to not spend money on items and you have to live in the moment, or instead of buying these fancy things, you make up imaginary games to play in your living room, and then those are like the memories that's how you connect with your family that you'll have forever. And who cares if you bought them a nice toy? Like dancing goofy with your little girl in like the living room is what's gonna, like, that's what she'll remember, that's what you'll remember, and that's what gives you both like love and purpose. And so I totally agree that being whenever you can connect with someone like direct, like one-on-one, like to build that foundation, that friendship, that love, that's what matters. And anytime, like, nothing can replace human like connection and human love. Like nothing. You can't buy you can buy things that make you happy, but it's not gonna like fix it can't replace like real love. So
No.
I totally agree with that. And that's something that I think that, like, a lot, like, more money, more problems is not totally wrong. Like, people who have a lot of money don't necessarily have a lot of love, because they're buying things thinking that that'll make them happy, and it doesn't. It's empty when you don't have the option to even do that, because, right, like, marketing is telling you all the time, that's their job, is to say, buy this, it'll make you happy. But that's not real. That they're lying to you. Similar to politicians who use faith to lie to you, to trick you to vote for them when they're not actually representing the like Christian values. But so similar, like marketing, it's all about like convincing you to do something. And if you have money, then you buy into that. And then, so that's something I think that's kind of nice about not having a ton of money, is that you are forced to just make do with less. And in-person creativity and connection like matters more. You can just hanging out on the couch doing nothing. You make so many memories talking to each other, like connecting, listening, making them feel heard, spending that, like, the time, the value of like being bored for kids is also super important. So kind of like, yeah, can't buy that stuff. You have to just you have to live it.
Yeah, live it. And oftentimes, I don't know why people think that because I have a large social media presence that like I don't know, like for them, they think I live some kind of exciting life. And I always tell them the most excitement for me that I need is to watch something I enjoy watching with good food with a friend. That's on the moon for me. If we can go vacation and do that, I'm perfect. I don't need anything else like that. And I oftentimes tell people in general when I meet them, like, I'm not the guy that goes to the club or anything like that. I am so simple, and the simple things just give me joy. The simple experiences give me joy. And I think that when you connect, as you said, with someone you care about, it just makes it better. And being creative, as you said, is another thing. Like being able to be creative just because you can't afford to go to Barbados. Okay, well, we'll go to the lake. You know, we go turn the lake into Barbados. We'll bring Barbados to us, you know, make memories and have fun, all while we're still working toward maybe the goal of one day we can take that family trip to Barbados. So I agree. Audience, let us know what you think. Are you more into experiences or are you more into the items? Post your comments. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to go to her TikTok. Link is in description. Now, CJ, we'll go ahead and get into the real stuff. By the way, people, this is what her TikTok looks like, by the way, before I forget. That's her. And I love the name. Politics Hijack Faith. Nothing could be so true because it did. It has hijacked it. But sadly, CJ, politics has been hijacking faith, and faith in some cases have been hijacking policy since the beginning of time. Since you can go back to king and queens, you can go back to the cardinals, you can go back to Queen Elizabeth. Honestly, the settlers came here because they wanted to break free of what they felt like was religious persecution from the queen, even though they lied to her and said they were going to come here, bring all the goodies back. They got here and was like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. And that brings me to my first thing we need to discuss, CJ. Christian nationalists. Lord have mercy.
Dive right in.
Lord have mercy. I have a video that can give me and you and the audience kind of a roundabout synopsis from another great TikToker that I've met and enjoy. And if I meet you on TikTok, I eventually try to meet you in person, so we can click like that. And so a lot of these videos you'll see of people that I've actually had a chance to meet. Here's one that I think is set up a slam dunk for you. I'm gonna be Kobe, you can be Shaq, and I'm gonna throw you the alley. Take a look at this video. See how we feel about it.
Christian nationalism is just white supremacy cosplaying as a Bible study. And I talk about Christian nationalism a lot and how I think it's the biggest threat to our democracy right now. And I want everybody to know that Christian nationalists do not care about your freedoms and they do not care about human rights. And if you know about the history of white evangelical Christian nationalists, you would understand why that's the case. I don't think a lot of people realize that the reason a lot of Christians, private Christian schools started popping up is because of the desegregation of public schools. They didn't like that so much that they decided to build up their own private Christian schools and not accept Black students in the name of religious freedom. The founder of Liberty University actually made a school like this, Jerry Falwell Jr., and he would preach sermons about how God wants segregation. Bob Jones University also did this. They banned Black students, and then after they started allowing Black students, they banned interracial relationships and dating. And the only reason they went back on that is because the IRS was saying they could no longer be tax exempt if they were going to continue to discriminate. So they didn't go back on this because they changed their mind. It was only because they were no longer tax exempt. And I want it to really sink in that these schools started not because they wanted to teach these kids about the love of Jesus, but because they didn't want a Black child sitting next to their white kid. The more history you learn about white evangelicalism, Christian nationalism, the more you realize how serious of a threat it is to our freedoms and human rights.
Shout out to my homegirl, the Heretic. Thank you for that. CJ, the floor is yours. How do you feel about the things she said, and what are your perspectives on the way you view Christian nationalism?
Yeah, she's spot on. And it definitely caught Christian religion and politics have always been intertwined, but it really was a big movement in 1970s. Is like when they really like got hold of the evangelical church, and that's kind of like where this really took off. So they were looking for an issue that would galvanize the evangelical base after segregation stopped being an effective issue to get people out to the polls. So they used abortion. They like figured out this guy Paul Weyrich is basically like the founder of the what's called the religious right, which is this like big Republican think tanks that figured out that you could use faith to manipulate people to get them to vote for you. It's essentially what it is. And they first used it with like segregation, and then probably other things too, but the big ones were like segregation and then with abortion. Interestingly, the Southern Baptist Convention, which was the most conservative Christian denomination in the South in the 1970s, 1970, 1974, 1976, passed pro-choice resolutions imploring a woman to choose. And then it wasn't until the late 1970s that Paul Weyrich like changed that to say that abortion is murder and there's like it's never okay. And then that got people to vote. And so there's probably like 50% of like conservatives that are like one issue voters around abortion. That was super effective. But the point is that Christian nationalist is a political movement, not a religious movement. Jesus specifically was against like the intermixing of church and state. Jesus was for the separation of church and state. He said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to God what is God. He said, if you mix religion and politics, you're not making government more holy, you're making religion more corrupt. And we see that all the time. So this is what Christian nationalists are doing. The most important thing to do is love. Like love is the greatest commandment. We should love God, love our neighbor, try to make the world more just, a better place through love. We should, in Jesus's teachings, we can base laws on love to ensure that they lift up all of humanity. But if you use laws to force people to love, you don't get love, you get control. And that's what Christian nationalism is doing. They are they're using scripture as a smoke show a smoke screen to do non-Christian things. Their whole thing, there's nothing Christian about Christian nationalism. Their whole thing, they want to a government imbued with biblical values, but there's nothing biblical about what they are doing. In fact, so the Heritage Foundation, which is a big Christian nationalist organization behind Project 2025, literally in Project 2025, one of their goals is to dismantle agencies that go after misinformation, and then they will remove caps on political donations so that they can lie. No one can stop them, and unlimited money on like lying. So there's nothing biblical about lying. Their whole strategy is to tell Christians one thing and do another. So they say, even the very name Christian nationalist makes you think that it's pro-Christian, pro-USA, but it's not. They're dismantling democracy in the United States, and they're using scripture to trick Christians to do non-Christian things. That's like the whole thing. So it sucks. they're destroying Christianity. They're destroying our democracy. They're doing it in the name. They're basically like, they're using the name of Jesus, and they're using Bible verses to trick people so that they don't look further, so that people who are Christians just say, oh, like they said the word Christian, I'm a Christian, so I'll vote for them. And then they do all these terrible things in the background, and then we're all worse off. And they say they're doing it in the name of Christianity, but that has nothing to do with, there's nothing to do with Christian values. Christian nationalists, they're all about power and using Christianity to keep their power. That's so, yeah, it started, and it's getting so much traction. And I think part of the reason why it's getting so much traction now is because they feed off of misinformation. Like, their main strategy is to lie to people. And now with social media and with algorithms, lying is way like more pervasive into our homes. And so, and like those messages that they had to like go into communities before to reach people. Now they just pay for ads and they reach them on their computers. And then these, there's a lot of money behind these people because they are protecting wealth. The whole thing was started, like Christian nationalists are using Christianity to figure out how they could protect their wealth, because like it makes no economic sense to not tax billionaires. So they had to make it make moral sense. So they basically wrapped greed in scripture, said that like being rich is God blessing you. And they use scripture to defend that. And all the corruption in religion and in politics stems from greed and power. And that's at the heart of Christian nationalism. That's what they're doing. That's what they care about. I feel like I went all over there, but
oh, don't worry. We're going to home it all in, because the next clip we're going to watch is, so we set the foundation of what Christian nationalism is and how it is eroding democracy, and in some cases the minds of people. The next one is kind of something you hit on in that wonderful soliloquy you just gave about how it's being weaponized. And before we hit it, I just want to throw in my 2 cents that you said things that a lot of people don't know about history, and how the Republicans have played the long game since the late 60s. And they have. Yeah, when they figured out that they lost segregation, they decided, we're going to infiltrate these peons through religion. And basically what they have tried to do, whoever started this, the guy that you was talking about, he had a partner. And sadly, that partner that was working with him was highly educated. And he did not believe in religion because of his education. For him, it was like, if I can't prove it through science, I don't believe it. But what he knew, and why he teamed up with them, was because he knew that if someone doesn't have a whole lot of education, but they're very religious, they can use that religion against them by just saying, if the Bible is silent, you need to be silent. Don't look up anything. And so they kind of formed this union, because they knew that if you're not like educated from a book scientific standpoint, you're not going to be questioning a whole lot of things. If someone who claims they are a man of God says this is how it should go, you're not going to question it. You're not going to research. You probably don't even have the mental, intellectual curiosity to look it up. And so that's why you started seeing the dual track of, we're going to infiltrate them through religion, And as you mentioned, we're going to dial back education as best we can and segregate these kids into education. You hit it on the head. And I think that the Democrats have got to play the long game. They have got to stop letting them take history out of schools that could help people understand things better younger. They've got to fight for getting critical thinking into schools as early as they can. My daughter's in kindergarten, and right now this girl can speak and hold a conversation at a Spanish restaurant. Her first language is English, but she got into a dual Spanish program, and her brain is clicking right now. It's firing on all cylinders. So kids have a capacity to understand things, and no child is born into the earth with any kind of wickedness. No child. They're born innocent, and they feed off of their environment. And the Democrats have got to get back in there and put a protocol in place that stops whittling down education. The way you fight what they're doing with religion is through education. And having said that, there are plenty of highly educated people that are religious and go by the doctrine of the Bible, but they're not falling for the banana in the tailpipe of voting for someone like Trump, who you clearly can see says something here, but he behaves in a way that's unholy. They're not falling for that. And the data suggests the more educated you are, the more you are voting for progressive views that support not just the top 10%, but all percent of the nation. And when you do that, you upset the top 10% because they want to control all the money and all the power. That's how they go. So that was my soliloquy to rebuttal what you said. Let's get into how it's weaponized. Shout out to my big homie. Thank you for this, my brother. I'll get up with you soon. But this is going to be more of how we've seen religion weaponized, and not just Christianity, CJ, but you've also seen the Muslim religion weaponized. You've seen people who are Muslims run into towers, suicide bombs, like whatever it takes. People are weaponizing religion. And this is an example of it.
And the blowback from Jen Hamilton reading the Bible back to MAGA is absolutely insane. She read a passage from the Bible, a book that MAGA claims to live their life around and profess their faith around is the Bible. And as soon as she reads something that talks about caring for people and loving people and treating people well, like Christ would want us to treat people, they absolutely explode. And it shows you they don't care about the word of Christ. They care about weaponizing the word of Christ against those they don't agree with. That's why she gave them a taste of their own medicine by throwing a passage back in their face. MAGA Christians love to just cherry pick all these little sweetheart nuggets from the Old Testament. And when she read them back, a passage from the Bible, they couldn't handle it. Their heads exploded so much that I saw she commented on another person's video saying they are reporting her to the board of nurses. For what? For what? For reading the Bible and calling them hypocrites? Jesus did the exact same thing. The exact same thing to the high priest. It's heresy. It's hypocritical to claim to love Jesus, know Jesus, and believe in the Bible. And as soon as somebody reads you something that seems like what you would do if you're a good person and you have a problem with it, that's a huge problem with you. So MAGA Christians.
And CJ, I'll say this, and then the floor is yours. I just want to add to what he was saying. I did a video maybe 3 weeks ago. There was this huge uprising of pastors basically saying that if you're married to a man, because the Bible says the man's supposed to be the head of the house, all that mumbo jumbo, you shouldn't vote as a woman. Then that same group of pastors, CJ, was also saying that having empathy for someone else is wrong, and that the provocateurs of empathy are women. Now, I got bothered by that, CJ, because I was raised by a grandmother. So part of my ministry, if you want to call it a ministry, is that, of course, I debate, work for everybody. marginalized groups, people that don't have a voice, but I'm real passionate about the voice of women and women having rights. Women, if they want to lead a household, they can do it. I'm very passionate about that because I've seen the struggle my grandma went through. And when I saw those things, CJ, how they was trying to use religion to cherry pick certain Bible verses and then forget the other Bible verses that had in some cases knocked down what was in the Old Testament, it made me upset. So that was just me giving you an example of two ways they were trying to weaponize religion. Number one, to tell women that they shouldn't vote, let the man do it. And number two, having empathy makes you weak and is going to send you to hell. Floor is yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the most powerful thing you can do to manipulate someone is to tell them that damnation is on the table if they don't listen to you. And that's essentially what you're doing when you mix religion and politics, is you're saying that that Christianity is in alignment with whatever issue you're telling them, and that you're going to go to hell if you don't believe me. Like, if you don't vote this way, if you don't act this way, you will be tortured forever and ever in eternity. Like, there is nothing more manipulative than to use. That's why it's like Jesus preached that faith should not be mixed with politics, because it's used for control, not for transformation, not for love. You cannot mix the two. And that's what and you see that in a lot of different ways. So weaponizing faith for political gain in a lot of different ways there. It's simple. When I got into this, I thought, I do have to research. I research a lot for like every post that I'm like making and everything, but it's actually not that complicated. It's pretty simple. No. Jesus said to love, that our actions are what matters. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you even believe. It matters what you do. It matters that your actions match your words, and that you actually help people, that you try to make the world better, that you fight what Jesus fought and fight what he fought for: love, compassion, justice. Fight against what he fought against: religious hypocrisy, oppressive systems. Like, that was the message. Do what he does. And then the modern church puts all these rules and on top of it, like, why, like women can't speak out in public, or men, like, you can't marry a man, can't marry a man, women can't marry a woman. Like, there's all these different rules that you can, and then different sects of Christianity and Mormonism, there's all these different rules. I just learned yesterday, actually, I did not know this, that Mormons, they cannot have hot caffeine. They can have cold caffeine. That's where they draw the line. So they can't have coffee, and they can have soda. I was like, that's temperature is where the Bible, that's what the Bible did not tell you, that temperature is where you draw the line on caffeine. That is a human construct. So there's so many things that the churches, like, that people use religion for, and it's so powerful. It's so powerful because people are so scared, and it's fear. It's all fear-based. They're using religion to manipulate. People are so scared of going to hell that they will do anything to not do that. And then they're so easily tricked into doing that. And the thing is that Satan in the Bible used scripture to trick people, like exactly what Trump is doing, and like the whole MAGA movement. That's Satan's playbook. Like, seriously, he used scripture and said, follow me if you want wealth, I will make you rich if you follow me. And literally he quoted the scripture in the Bible, and that's what Trump said. Like, I'm a Christian. He waved a Bible, said, I'm a Christian, vote for me, I'll make you rich. And then people care more about that than treating people with respect, with dignity, like making things more fair. So yeah, religion is constantly being weaponized, and it's really sad, because Jesus was right. He was right. And people say, like, it's all in his name. And I think it goes back to your point about education. That is the solution to all of our problems. If I ever became a one-issue voter, it would be to fund education more than our military. Like, there's a reason why we fund our military 3 times, 4 times more than education, because smart people are more dangerous than dangerous people, like, to the government. And they want to keep us Let you get back to it. 1/5 of Americans are illiterate. Isn't that crazy?
So, like a lot of the people that I've had, it's sad, CJ. A lot of the people I've had up here as guests that have had to go like do seminars or present to a group of Americans, wherever they are, they're told you have to speak to these people and your materials need to be read or written in a way that a sixth grader can understand it.
Interesting. That's
sixth grader.
interesting. That's like
So,
that's
like,
what to the public. That's what we're supposed to be talking
yes.
like.
Yes. So, like a couple of the politicians that are running that done some interviews with me earlier this year, their groups tell them you have to do things on a sixth grade level. Like, so that's why I get mad with Democrats. That's a problem.
It is.
That is a problem. And I used to own an early child care center. Early child care education is what I call it. We should be funding the hell out of that.
Mhm.
Like the minute a child can start school around
That
the
should be
6,
pro-life.
7, 8 month. Yes. Yes, CJ. How are you pro-life? Okay, I'm not going to get on a tangent. I'm still on mission. No. You're fine. You are allowed to get on tangent. You're the guest. You're allowed to do. I said, I'm not going to get on tangent because I was about to go down that road, CJ. Like, I don't understand how you're pro-life, but when
That
the life
doesn't make
gets
sense.
here, you're pushing off the cliff.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, come on, man. But speaking of pro-life and babies, this is one you sent to me specifically. I'm not even going to give her the introduction, ladies and gentlemen, but let's just say if you had a child, you're hungry, and these churches are supposed to be the place that you can seek refuge. How would it go if you tried an experiment? Well, let's see. Here we go.
So I'm about to call and test your church to see if they would help feed a starving baby. And right now I'm about to call Storyside Church in Belleville, Ohio. So let's see if they would be willing to help feed a starving baby. And their About Me says, Storyside Church is a vibrant and welcoming community that believes in the power of personal stories and the transformative love of God.
Hi, this is Katie with Storyside Church.
Hiya, I was calling to see if y'all could help with formula at all. I have a 2-month-old baby and we ran out last night, so she's been going all day without anything to eat.
Oh, I hear you. Where are you located?
I'm only like 20 minutes from you all.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me ask her and see what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Are you able to stop by the church?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. If you stop by around 1 p.m., then we can have that ready for you.
Okay, can I say something real quick? Sorry. Hey, hello? Are you there?
Yep.
Okay, I'm actually not in need. I'm like testing churches to see which ones would actually help, and you are one of the few that would actually help a mom feed her baby. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you're doing, and it means a lot, and just to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for giving us a call.
All right, thank you.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow. Now that's a good church, ladies and gentlemen. That young lady has millions of followers. She done over 300 phone calls. CJ I did the research, and out of all those 300 phone calls, only 8 was willing to help. Out of 300 phone calls, and it's gotten to a point online, CJ, where I always tell people when you're dealing with like the low educated MAGA, you always get the very low educated responses. So first thing they're saying now about her is that it was all a hoax. Okay. I mean, we hear Trump say that, and when you hear Trump say something like that, you're not in good company. The other thing that a lot of MAGA folks are saying about everything is AI. You know, so how I tie that to religion, CJ, is that if the Bible is silent, you're supposed to be silent. And so you're not supposed to look for any further answers. So it just makes the process, it takes responsibility out of your hands to seek more information. And so for them, if it's real and they don't want it to be real based on their bias, they'll just simply say, oh, it's AI, oh, it's a hoax, it's a witch hunt, all this stuff, because they either don't want to look it up because they're worried about the outcome, or don't have the capacity to look it up. And having said that, CJ, the floor is yours. This was your story. What did you think about the whole thing?
I thought it was a brilliant social experiment to see who
Very
would
good.
help. I think it highlights two really important messages. One is that there were some good Christian churches out there who did meet her need. On one of the phone calls, a pastor was writing down the name of the formula. He was going to go to the store right then and there and bring it to her. And so there are good Christians out there living the values of Jesus. But when the majority aren't, that's a problem. We have a religious hypocrisy problem in Christianity, and we need all Christians to admit that and recognize that and work towards a solution. I feel like so often I'm talking with like Christians about these topics, and they're like, they debate with me, pointing to good Christians, saying, look, it's not all Christians. And then I'm pointing to bad Christians, saying, I know it's not all good Christian, and I know it's not like not everyone's bad. I'm saying that there are bad, and we need to acknowledge that that exists, and that that's a problem, and we need to work towards it. So it's like we're like, there's something about not being able to like admit that it's real, and that's frustrating. The second like big point, and I don't know how we reckon that with that first one. I think it's something we need to continue to wrestle with, because we need to fix it. I am trying to be a part of the solution that fixes religious hypocrisy in Christianity. And I have not found the solution yet. I'm going to keep trying. I'm changing, like I'm evolving and changing my approach, because I think we need to keep trying. I thought step one would be pointing out religious hypocrisy. And I think I'm driving a little bit of a wedge between the solution and Christians, and I need to reframe it. But that's a side tangent. The second thing that the video I think highlights really well is that churches are not in a position to break systemic poverty. Christians all the time say that it's not the government's job to help the poor, it's the church's job, that they tithe to the church and the church is responsible to help communities. And that when the government takes your money in the form of taxes, it's stealing. That's a very common thought amongst Christians. In fact, just like 2 weeks ago, Charlie Kirk's like mega church posted on social media that you needed to tithe. The church is supposed to help the community, and the government should not have anything to do with like helping the poor. That's the church's responsibility. But this experiment showed that the church does not have the systems or the resources in place to break systemic poverty cycles. They couldn't even help someone starving in that moment. And like maybe they didn't have the resources there that day, and maybe some of those churches went back and reflected and were like, we couldn't meet the needs of someone who needed help. Let's change our systems. Let's learn. Let's do better. That's great. That's what you want. But some of those churches went and called her, like said that she was just like a woke liberal trying to catch them. It's like,
right.
Catching you is not the problem. It's the fact that you were doing something bad to be caught. That's the problem. Like, why are you pointing fingers? You are just reflect inward, do something. So I don't know. I thought that experiment was brilliant. It really highlights that we do have a problem in Christianity of religious hypocrisy, and there are good Christians out there, but they're the minority right now, which is also a really big problem. And churches can't break systemic poverty cycles. So if we know that, and we know that Jesus had to fight oppressive systems, and we know that churches can't fight them, that they're not enough, then we need to find other solutions. So that's what those were like my two big takeaways from that. And I know someone commented, I made like a couple posts about her, and someone commented that she took requests for churches, so they probably skewed towards the ones that they knew wouldn't help, because they wanted to like see if those ones wouldn't help. Still, 300, you said? That's insane. 300. Doesn't matter if it's skewed one way. That's bad. That's really bad. That's really, really bad. Yeah, and someone
Right.
gate kept it. They're like, oh, if you remember, we could help you. Like, oh, you're not gonna save someone's life. So much for the pro-life party. I bet that if that same girl was going to the abortion clinic, you would probably stop her under the guise of helping. But
Yeah. And I'm glad that you segued into like systemic poverty, and it's a huge wheel, and the church is just a part of the wheel. It's not the whole wheel. And our next segment before we get out of here is going to kind of talk about the financial constructs that are in place that create or help deter or can uplift people out of poverty or keep them there. And this situation with the church, I was reading through some comments and I was sickened. You had people up there trying to defend the churches that said no by saying the church can't help everybody. It's not the church's responsibility to help everybody. Well, if your pastor is telling you it's not the government's responsibility and it's not the church's responsibility, whose responsibility is it? Okay. And don't give me no more of this stuff about pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
that's what they'll say.
Because if you are paying attention, and you know, a lot of what I do, CJ, is financials, stocks, real estate. I've owned businesses. I've been in rooms with rich white guys who told me a lot of stuff. I don't drink, smoke, or do any drugs, but I pretend like I'm drinking. I'm sipping water. And while they're getting completely wasted, they're telling me every deep, dark secret of how they skim the government, how they basically, CJ, the steroids to their growth. That's what they do. They tell me those things behind closed doors. And as much as the rich are telling, and the church pastors who are rich too, are telling everybody else, you shouldn't get help. They're telling you that because the help you should be getting, they're getting it. The help you should be getting, they are taking it. The top 10% keep telling you to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, don't take a handout, because they are taking the handout and they don't need it. We need health insurance. We need better education. And they know that the smarter you are, the more you'll want to see this nation come together as a group, and the more you want to see your tax dollars used for the greater good. For them, they don't want to see that. They don't want to see that. And they will send you through all these fiery hoops of, they'll tell you, use the church. Then you go to the church don't want to help you and tell you it's not the government's fault. Well, who's supposed to be your hand up? Then you get into those pastors who are bold enough to say, well, just keep praying. Well, just keep praying. After they done threw salt in one eye, bleach in the other eye, they're telling you to keep praying. When we have the mechanisms in place, there should be nobody in poverty in America. Nobody. There's plenty of money out there if America was allowed to take care of its citizens the way it should. Nobody should be in poverty. This runaway inflation that we've got going on right now should not be happening. And the next segment, I'll kind of deep dive into that. But before we end this kind of religious segment, CJ, you mentioned that you want to be a voice for trying to overcome what we're seeing. And my question to you is the toughest question I think you can ask anybody who is as versed as you are. You're a believer, but you're very, very smart. I don't even know your educational history, but your mind is so open. That says something about your intelligence. How do you break through to these people who are either in the MAGA delusion, the religious delusion, or both? And I've read psychology books, and some of my best friends are psychologists. And the only thing they say that you can do, you can't beat these people down with facts. That'll make them hunker down even more. You actually can't even beat them down with pointing out the hypocrisy until it affects their family. Now, if it affects their family, that's when you can call them out. But if it doesn't affect their family, you can't beat them down with the hypocrisy. The psychology book says, and my friends say, the only thing you can do is narrate a good story that somehow or another can talk to them specifically, whether it's their daughter getting picked up by ICE in unmarked vehicles, posing as ICE, but they're really criminals, or it's your grandma who's about to lose her Social Security because you voted for Trump. So, giving you that backdrop, CG, how do you get through to these people who are in those kind of delusions and bubbles?
I love that question, Lamont. I have some ideas. I think we should just keep trying things and figure out what works. I don't know that like my ideas are going to be the ideas, but I think there's a couple things we can do.
Okay.
Encourage them to critically think. A lot of the MAGA movement is just parroting back talking points, and they're not actually thinking about the things. And a lot of times, like those, they call it common sense because it's not common sense. They name everything the opposite of what it actually is. Like, right. They pro-life is pro-birth. Like everything is backwards. And so it's not common sense, but you have to get them to realize that. And then you touched on something that's so key. Like they won't like realize it until they live it themselves. The thing that we have an opportunity coming up here. Every single person is going to be hurting with this Trump economy and inflation, tariffs, everything. There's not one person who is not impacted by this. My health insurance is going up 25% in January. It's insane. We're looking at $30,000 in just healthcare bills as like a normal family. That's crazy. That's crazy. So every single one of us is going to be feeling it economically. So I think every single person, Trump, like MAGA, whatever, whoever you are, is going to be thinking like, is there another way? Did I mess up? Because I thought that this would fix the economy and I'm hurting worse. So they're all going to be in that position. Now, when they first question whether they were wrong to vote for, whether maybe the first time that they question, like if Trump was wrong, we have to meet them with love, not judgment. We have to say, it's not your fault. He tricked you, and that is not what matters. Now is where we go from here. So they are going to be looking, and then so many people are so angry at people who voted for Trump for putting us in this position that when I talk about like we need to forgive Trump voters, almost all of the comments are, you can do that. No way I can. Like, I can't do that. I can't do that. But if we all do that, they won't be Trump supporters anymore. They'll look at us and they'll say, oh, maybe you were right. And then we listen, and then we get them to critically think. We ask them questions. How is this impacting you? Have your prices gone up? Are you able to afford healthcare? Are you losing your healthcare? What do you think about, like, what if we were to pay there's 7% more, and then instead of 20% each year, and now we have universal healthcare, like would that be, just force them to critically think, and then that will be like the first step getting them out of that like MAGA universe. But kindness, and I would say the other thing, all real change will happen in person. Nothing will happen online. Yep. The real change is all in person. We are on one side of the algorithm or the other. And I thought I could be like a bridge when I like started TikTok. No, I'm very clearly on one side of the algorithm. So now I need to change my approach. And I think my approach now is talking to, I'm clear, I'm on the left side. So I need to talk to the left and be like, we need to change our approach to help people come over and be kinder. Because if the first time that they think, maybe I was wrong, if we meet them with, yes, you were wrong and it's your fault and you deserve that, then they're going to stick their head in the sand even further. But if we say, oh, but I totally get why you felt that way. You know what? There is a lot of corruption in politics. There's a lot of corruption on the left and the right. I can see why you wanted to drain the swamp. I want to drain the swamp, but it didn't work. So now we have more swamp people. And like, now, like, how do we get out of that? So like recognize where they weren't wrong. Because if you're just like, you're wrong. And then we're not working together. So like, meet them with love, listen. So like you said, like we can tell stories. I think the better thing is to get them to talk, but ask the questions to get them to talk, to answer like the questions that you want them to, like guide them This is like what I do like with like personal conflicts at like work when I'm like helping staff out, it's like guide them to the solution by asking them questions so that they get there. And it's them. They've made that connection. And then now it's gonna click. If you just talk at them, it's not gonna click. If they recognize it, like, whoa, then it might actually do something.
CJ, you're asking a whole lot of me. Oh Lord. you God, Lord have mercy. You're asking a whole lot of me. I'm not gonna lie, CJ. It's hard for me to. What you're saying is absolutely right. I'm not denying that, because I've always been taught you win people over with honey, not vinegar. However, it's hard to give someone honey when they triple trump 3 times and they peppered you with vinegar, and now you're supposed to olive branch them with honey when. Oh Lord, how can I put this? We've seen the deviant things Trump has done. Like, I still can't get over January the 6th.
Oh, I know.
I can't.
Yes.
I can't. And like, I've cut a Republican friend loose because he voted for Trump this time. And during the riot, he was saying all this, oh, it was wrong and yada, yada, yada. He's a white guy, business owner. And I clearly said to him, and I'm not gonna say his name, but I said such and such. Had that been a bunch of black dudes looking like spider monkeys hanging off the Capitol, hanging off the White House, you wouldn't even be saying, but it would be, why are they not in jail? Not to mention you voted for this guy now, and he pardoned the leaders that started that. How am I supposed to make friends with you? Because that's bigger than black and white issues. That is national country security issues. You're voting for your government to be overthrown through a fair election. That's democracy. That's the precedence over everything. So it's hard for me. I can't lie to CJ. It's hard for me to do it. Now, if they come back and they're saying, Lamont, I got to admit, I lied when I said it was the price of the groceries. It was really, I just wanted to stomp on political correctness. I wanted a tax break, and I wanted to see the people that I thought was causing all these issues, those immigrants and those women and you black folks. I really wanted to see y'all hurt. But now I'm realizing that hate begets hate. And if you let someone hate on one group, they will eventually come for you somehow, some way. If they came to me, CJ, and said all that, I could be very nice to them. I could be very nice to them. But I'm a work in progress too. If you're vulnerable, I'm vulnerable right with you. It's hard for me, that much of a work in progress. And I'm not saying like I'm super Harvard educated, but I'm educated of the things in society that make us work. Our economics, supply and demand. I've kind of had a chance to do several industries with some success. So I get it. And it's always hard for me to see how you're willing to vote against your interests just because you would rather be happy someone is putting black, brown people in their place and women, even though your house is on fire and we're in the same house, you're willing to let that house burn down as long as we're in it with you to see this guy uplifting the white males. So it's hard for me to swallow all that, CJ. It's hard for me to swallow all that.
Can I give you a rebuttal?
Yeah, give me the rebuttal. Please.
2 things. I think one, you're giving them a lot of credit in you, Lamont, are a smart, educated person. Most of that base is not. They defund education. They don't have access to, they're taught, they change the curriculum in their schools. They're not taught history. They're taught that evolution is, they're not taught biology. They're taught evolution is wrong. Their education is super warped. Their communities lie, their pastors lie to them. All these people that we trust in our life are giving them false information. And then you build communities of that, and they just don't have the same access. And then they're not necessarily college educated, right? They're sixth grade reading level, national average or whatnot, you said. So I think that people, and then you build, and then you add on religious weaponization of faith, and they don't have the education. Their pastors telling them to vote for Trump. Well, I don't get it, but I don't want to go to hell, so I guess. I don't think that they are doing it because they want to hurt Black, brown women. I think that that is a consequence of what they're like, an unintended consequence for them. And what matters is that the God, they're doing, in their mind, they're doing the God choice, because their politicians and their pastors told them that. They lied, they weaponized their faith to get them to do something that then is bad, like that is bad for Black, brown. They think, like, so I don't even think that they realize that their decisions have those impacts. There's no, that's not a connection that they make at all. So if you try to make that connection, they will fight you on that. They disagree. That's not what we're doing. It wasn't about that. You're wrong. And then they close off. Second thing. So I think we have to, like, give them a little bit of grace and be like, you probably didn't actually have that information. You are smart. You can critically think. That doesn't mean that everyone can. The average IQ in the United States is 100. So if you think about that, there's a lot of people. You're a smart guy. There's a lot of people that aren't as smart as you. So you have to, like, kind of, like, think about that too, which goes back to the point of, like, talk to them right at the appropriate level. The second thing I think is important is, don't let me lose my train of thought in this one. There's one more. The education and I'm gonna lose this one. Sorry. It was.
Oh, you good?
Oh no, I got it. Okay. The one thing that conservatives do really well is they unite on one thing always: opposition to Democrats, opposition to progress. It's super simple. It's a strategy, and it works because there's no thinking. It's one simple thing. I think on the left, we need to get better at just picking a strategy. And I think the strategy has to be that we forgive them. Because if we don't, who wins is the 1%. It's like, we don't have the luxury to do it to do it the right way. We have to do it the strategic way. And the strategic way is to get them on our team and then fight the fight. Not fight the fight against them. They need to be on our team, and then we can fight. So it sucks, but I think that the alternative is worse. I think that those are two, like, things. So it's like, is it not genuine to not forgive someone because it's strategic? I don't know. I think that you could do both. I think you could know that the right thing to do is to forgive and to treat them with, I mean, what does it matter what you think or what you do, right? That's what Jesus taught. Actions, actions, actions. So think in your head, I'm frustrated, that's annoying, but do kindness. Treat them with dignity. They're human. Whether they treated you as a human, you treat them as a human, rise above.
I would say that's why we have great people like you to go and minister to the Christian folks. You, James Tallarico, Governor Bashir, who both of those guys, and you too, they lead with their faith. They lead with love. And they both have won in red states. And obviously what you're saying has a winning strategy because they've proven it, and you're saying it right here. And I just think that some of us who are we're not as good as you all are just yet. We're seeing it. We're seeing it. We're going to have to let y'all take the lead on that part first. Because what you're saying is right. I'm not debating you on that. I'm debating you that so many of us are frustrated that these people get caught in that bubble you just mentioned, and you forgot to throw in the Fox News loop that never exposes them to the whole spectrum of news. They never expose them to that. It's always hate on drip. It's always be outraged about these people on drip. And then on the back end, they'll throw something in there like, and God bless America, that type of mess. We've got to have people like you go on Fox News, Governor Bashir, James Tellerico. We've got to have y'all go and lead the way for us. Because some of us is ready to cuss them out and say, you can come now. Yeah, come on. But you should not have had to experience the kind of pain you went through. You should have thought about the pain other people was going to go through and not had to let it come to your doorstep before you decided, okay, I need to jump ship. I'm happy you jumping ship. Don't get me wrong, but I'm still frustrated it took you that long. And a lot of those individuals, CJ, always swear they're patriots. They don't know what patriot means. They swear that they are great Americans. And if you're not for your other Americans, no matter what they look like, you're not a great American. So I said all that to say, we're going to have to let you take the lead on that. And we'll let you hold our little pinkies and bring us on into the fold too. Post your comments, y'all. Let us know what y'all think. CJ, I got one last thing for you, and I want to thank you so much for your time. You got a family, you got kids. You didn't have to come have this insightful conversation. And I think that the one thing that I learned from you that I've heard from psychologists is when you're telling that story to people in a bubble, you ask them questions so that they can illustrate the story themselves. I'm going to never forget that. And you got to find a way to do it where it doesn't seem like you're being a college professor getting them to answer those questions. And so if you haven't learned anything here, audience, you've learned that straight from CJ. And if you want to learn more, you got to go to her channel because she gives out a whole lot more than what she's giving here. Just got to tell you. Last thing we're going to cover is the wheel that the rich people and the top 10% love to keep us on the hamster wheel while they sit at the top of the wheel. Trump done something that if any Democrat would have even put this on paper, CJ, they would have said that Democrat is the swamp. They probably would have impeached him. But Trump got away with this. Take a look at this one.
The Trump administration's $10.9 billion of a 10% stake in Intel on August 23, 2025, funded by converting CHIPS Act grants into equity, casts a shadow over the free market system, reinforcing perceptions of corporatism masquerading as capitalism. While equity stakes might promise taxpayer returns if Intel stock rises, unlike non-repayable grants, this move deepens government entanglement in private business, echoing bailout-era tactics like the 2008 General Motors rescue. The CHIP Act's $52.7 billion in subsidies designed to counter China's dominance and secure supply chains already distorts markets by favoring select giants. This equity deal further undermines competition, entrenching state-backed monopolies and eroding the innovation-driven ethos of true free markets. It fuels criticism of a rigged system where government picks winners, amplifying distrust in market fairness. What do you guys think? Comment below.
CJ, all I can do is roll my eyes. Lord have mercy. There are so many isms with that statement she just said. Number one, a lot of the people in the Republican Party always scream free market this, free market that. No regulation here, no regulation there. We need to deregulate. And for a company to get a grant, that is something that the government puts out there that you don't have to pay back, no strings attached, because it is something that can benefit not just that community, but the entire community. And there's a tax subsidy that comes along with it. It is a bunch of bull hickey that they gave them the grant and now they want a 10% stake. That is crony capitalism at its finest. And not one Republican who would normally scream free markets, let them fail, another company would step in, pull yourself up by the bootstrap. Nobody has done anything about this, said anything about it. And why it infuriates me is because the more you have this happen, the less the people get. And what I mean by that is, CJ, you have a situation where the rich are able to socialize their risk, and then they get to capitalize on the gains. If they don't get any gains, they don't lose no money because they've socialized the money from the government that should be going to the people who are not rich. And this is a capital case of that. Intel was having a horrible year. All of a sudden, Trump steps in, gives them that grant, then decides he wants 10% of the action, claims he's going to give it to the people. If Intel shuts down tomorrow, they've gotten 2.3 something billion dollars. We're toast. That 2.3 something billion dollars could almost be $20,000 to almost every American who's above the age of 18. And this is another reason why the ministry is for you and the other great folks in the Christian faith to talk to these people, because we can't have nice things, CJ, because you keep allowing them to dog and pony show you religion as the thing that's going to keep you afloat when there are basic necessities that the government can fund. We obviously have the money. You just saw how much money they gave Intel. That money they gave Intel could pay for all the early child care programs in the United States. Intel didn't need that money. Intel's been around since before I was born. I'm 45. They didn't need that money. And if they were on the way to failing, most Republicans say, let the free market take its place. And last thing I'll say, when inflation hits, CJ, because of situations like this, the regular person gets screwed two ways while the rich get paid two ways. When the government pumps more money into the economy, number one, that is an excuse for businesses to say we have to raise our prices because there's more money floating around in the economy. But here's the issue with that money floating around, CJ. Do me and you, the average consumer, get our hands on that money? No. That money goes to the same company that is now saying that because the government pumped more money and gave it to us, we now have the excuse of saying inflation needs to go up because there's too much money in the economic supply. And these are the conversations, CJ, you're telling me I got to somehow or another get a MAGA who's in a delusional bubble to understand this. I don't know how to do that. I mean, I don't. Like, and I'm good at storytelling. I write scripts. I don't know how to do that. Like, only other than to say your basic health care, your children's basic education, and your basic food needs should be taken care of. And it should not just be that we're giving Amazon, $60 million to move into Burlington, North Carolina, when we've got whole small businesses that have been uplifting this economy for 30 years that are on the brink of failing because they can't get the type of help that they need. Floor is yours, CJ. You get the last word. That's my rant.
I don't think I could explain that one better than you did. That was very well said. And one thing I will say, which you said that you don't know how to explain something like this to a MAGA person. I don't think that this Intel government funding spending, that's way up over their pay grade. You have to find something that they're interested in and then connect on that. And it's something, I don't know the stats on this, but I would guess that like at half of MAGA Christian voters are one issue voter on abortion. And so you could find issues, and maybe that's not like, I should look at the statistics up. I'm going to look it up while we're talking, but
so you think that a better approach, well, how about this, CJ? Is it not fair to say that, don't you think that we no matter who you are, you've got to eat, you've got to live, you need clothes to cover you, you need some basic health care. Can we not agree that all those are things, no matter what your education is, you have to deal with? You have to deal, and taxes. You have to deal with taxes no matter what your education is. So I always, when I debate them, I always go into, you're always mad about the taxes coming out of your check. And somehow or another, you think the Republicans are going to cut that tax. They're never going to cut your tax. And if they're not going to cut that tax, Republican or Democrat, why not make sure that that money can come back to you and other fellow Americans in the best way possible via good health care, via good food security, via good education and childcare, via more grants for you to start a business?
That is logic. And I don't know that logic can win in this.
Okay,
Going into the
that's
election
true.
last fall, like 18 of the world's best economists all said that Kamala's like economic plan was better, and Trump would lead us to like a recession.
Recession.
It
Yeah.
didn't matter. It didn't matter. We had the top brains in the world telling us one thing, and they didn't care. So logic won't win. Feeling will win. So if you can tap into their feelings and maybe like be like things are going up now. He lied to you. He screwed you. Get mad at him. Like maybe that's a better. I don't know. Maybe that's a strategy. I looked it up. 32% of registered voters are one issue voters. That's crazy
What?
high. So
That's
like
that's a third. That's a third of everybody that votes. Basically.
Yep.
CJ,
So it says of that 23% are pro-choice and 8% are pro-life. So it's like they're connecting their, but yeah. So we could focus on something simpler. Did you know that the only policies that decrease abortions in the United States are liberal policies, comprehensive sex ed, and low cost affordable birth control are the only two things that are proven and effective to reduce the number of abortion. So maybe if we ran on like policy that actually reduces abortion, we could convince people that don't want abortion. Like there's things that we could like connect that I think are lower hanging fruit than economy. And I don't think that you're wrong. I just like we're not talking at like this super high level. We need to lower it to maybe this is like the take. We need to lower it to like the 6th grade temperature and then debate there. And like it doesn't feel right, but I think that that's why they're winning and we're losing is because like the left has 20 different solutions for one problem and they've got one solution for one problem and it's anti everything. And we see a problem and we have 20 different solutions and we can't agree on which one's the best one. So like we just need to like, and that's like we just need to like dumb it down a little bit and then like speak their language and then maybe we could like find some common ground. I'll end with saying that I think that another way that we could connect with everyone in the US is the values of Jesus. Because whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, the values are that love and treating others with dignity and respect is what Jesus stood for. That is a core tenet of the left, right? They think that they're fighting for equality. People matter. Everyone matters. And on the right, what they say they care most about is their faith in Jesus. So we have a huge commonality of the values of Jesus. What's not common is what we like is the conservatives, the Christian nationalism that tells you that they're Christian when they're not. But if we get rid of all that noise and focus on the values, we agree. So if we can bring back the values, bring back those conversations of what does it mean to love your neighbor, or what does it even mean to love God? Is it blind obedience, or is it taking care of each other? Is it taking care of the world? Like if we can get back to these and these are conversations I don't think that you have to have a degree in economy or understand the stock market to have. It's what does love mean to you? Right. Anyone can define that. It's different for everyone, and that's okay. We bring it back to those values. I think we have the power to like heal, because that's ultimately the message of Jesus, is that love will win in the end, truth will win, and lies will eventually fall, and truth will prevail. That's like the message of God. And so I think we are at the point where like the lies have built their tower and like it's gonna fall. So we need to I think that might be, even if you're not a Christian, let's bring back the values. That's something that we can agree on.
Well said, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad she got to end this segment because she gave like 6 good quotes in just that last segment that you can take away tomorrow and be a better person. Again, if you want to get more of this young lady, please go over to her TikTok. That is what it looks like. Her link is in description. She's putting out great content and she's making pathways of you understanding how you might can get across to whomever it might be that's in the delusion, in the bubbles, And it might not even be a MAGA or a Christian bubble. You might just have someone who's in some kind of other bubble that needs to be broken out of. The strategies she mentioned still can be applied there. And the ultimate strategy is love, loving your neighbor and getting them to define what they see as love, and you meet them halfway on their definition. CJ, I'm going to give you the Hollywood standing ovation because this was a great one. Way to go. Here you go. Way to go, way to go, way to go. Just amazing work. We hope that you'll come back at some point in time, and we plan on turning you into family, and we'll fight this fight together. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this video. Don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe. And as we take you out here, I will give you that woman, Jasmine Crockett, to get us out of here. Take a look, and I'll see you next time.
Somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body.
And we are out of there, CJ. Wow.